He lost 22 years of his life because the truth wasn't profitable. Before we begin this story, take a moment and imagine losing 2 decades of your life for something you never did. 22 years behind bars, while the truth sat in a file, gathering dust. If you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, please hit that subscribe button now. Pushpin, click on this link at wealth_wounds. Because today, we are uncovering one of the most haunting cases modern America tried to forget. The sun had barely risen over Atlanta, Georgia, when Darius Cole, a 24-year-old construction worker, kissed his baby daughter on the forehead before leaving for work. He didn't know it would be the last time he'd feel her tiny fingers grab his thumb for the next 22 years. Darius was quiet by nature, a man who'd rather build than argue. But that morning, his life would shatter because of a gunshot he never heard. By noon, his street was crawling with police cars. A robbery had taken place 2 blocks away. A store clerk was shot, and a young black man wearing a grey hoodie was seen fleeing the scene. Darius was wearing a grey hoodie. As he returned home from his shift, he found squad cars parked in front of his apartment. Before he could even step out of his pickup truck, 4 officers surrounded him, guns drawn. "Hands where we can see 'em," one shouted. "You fit the description," another said. Darius froze, his hands trembling in the air. He hadn't even said a word when an officer slammed him onto the hood of his truck. The sound of metal cuffs closing echoed in his ears like a door locking forever. The interrogation room was cold. Fluorescent lights hummed. A camera blinked red in the corner. Detective Harlan Briggs, a 20-year veteran, leaned back with a smirk. Across from him sat Darius, confused, scared, and trying to piece together what just happened. "Darius." "Sir, I was at work. Ask my foreman. Ask anyone." Briggs, smirking. "Funny thing, Darius. We found your fingerprints on a cigarette lighter at the scene." Darius, "I don't even smoke." Briggs, "Then how do you explain that?" Darius stared blankly. He couldn't, because he'd never even been inside that store. What Darius didn't know was that the evidence was a setup, a faulty database match, and a detective desperate for a quick conviction in a high-profile case. The next day, the story hit every local news channel. Armed robber caught in connection to corner store shooting. His mugshot became his reputation. Before he could even speak, America had already decided who he was. 3 months later, Darius stood in a courtroom dressed in an oversized orange jumpsuit. His public defender, Samuel Price, looked tired, juggling 4 cases that morning. Across the room, the prosecutor, Elaine Whitmore, stood tall, sharp, and hungry for another conviction. Judge Robert Vance, an old man with eyes like cold glass, presided over the case. He had seen too many young black men pass through his courtroom, and he'd stopped believing in innocence a long time ago. The trial lasted only 5 days. Darius's alibi, his co-workers, were never called to testify. The security footage that could have cleared him? It was accidentally overwritten. But what no one expected was that the judge knew. A sealed report from the crime lab, delivered to Judge Vance's chambers, showed that the DNA on the lighter didn't belong to Darius. But it was never presented in court. The judge had quietly buried it. And on a Friday afternoon, in a courtroom filled with whispers, Darius heard the words that broke him. "Mr. Cole, you are hereby sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 22 years. His mother screamed. His daughter cried in her grandmother's arms. And Darius just stood there, motionless. If you're still watching, take a moment right now to hit that subscribe button, because stories like Darius's aren't rare. They are hidden, forgotten, buried under paperwork and politics. Pushpin, click here at wealth_wounds. Help us keep these voices alive. Inside Stonewall Correctional Facility, time slowed to a crawl. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into years. Darius read books. He learned law. He helped other inmates write appeals. He even started teaching GED classes in the prison library. But every night, when the lights went out, the same question haunted him. Why me? Then one day, 15 years into his sentence, a new prison chaplain, Reverend Nina Foster, arrived. She noticed something odd while reviewing inmate case files. Darius's record was unusually clean. No fights, no misconduct, and his paperwork contained a strange note in the evidence section. Item 4B, DNA inconclusive, sealed by court order. That was the first crack in the wall. Reverend Nina, once a lawyer before taking the cloth, knew what that meant. She reached out to a journalist from the Atlanta Post, Lena Parker, who specialized in wrongful convictions. Together, they uncovered what no one was supposed to see, the missing lab report from 22 years ago. It clearly stated, DNA sample excludes suspect Darius Cole. The signature at the bottom? Judge Robert Vance. They had the proof. But now, they needed courage. They filed for an appeal. The state fought back viciously. The prosecutor's office claimed chain of custody issues. But public outrage was building online as the story went viral under the hashtag #FreeDariusCole. And then, one morning, the impossible happened. The same judge who sentenced Darius called for a closed hearing. Judge Vance, now in his late 70s, sat with trembling hands. His eyes glistened under courtroom light. Vance, there's something I've carried for too long. Journalist, off camera, what do you mean, Your Honor? Vance, the boy, he was innocent. I knew it. He confessed. On record. The audio leaked to the press. But before the appeal could finalize, Judge Vance died suddenly in his sleep. The case froze. The state stalled. Darius was still in prison, but the world finally knew. It took another 6 months of legal battles. But on August 12, 2023, Darius Cole walked out of Stonewall Prison a free man. Reporters surrounded him as his daughter, now 27, ran into his arms. Reporter, Mr. Cole, what will you do now? Darius, smiling faintly, I'll start by living, and then I'll fight. Not for me. For the next man they tried to silence. Just 2 weeks after his release, Lena Parker received an anonymous package. Inside, a flash drive. It contained a video, time-stamped from the night of the robbery. It showed a different man entirely, a local police officer, planting evidence at the scene. Darius wasn't just wrongfully convicted. He had been set up. And the same department that arrested him was now trying to erase the evidence again. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a cover-up. And the people who put Darius behind bars? They're still out there. To be continued. If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Like, comment, and share this video, because Darius's fight is far from over. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Wealth and Wounds right now, where every story we tell exposes what they don't teach in school. Pushpin click here at wealth_wounds, because silence is how injustice survives.